I got a serious problem with the UFC right now, and I mean, part of this stems from like the recent events being mid as fuck, like 316 being a average pay-per-view, right? The Atlanta card being just mid, like realistically just mid. We got Azerbaijan coming up, which is pretty decent. Um, the Abu Dhabi card that was just announced was fucking sick. But you got these pay-per-views coming up right now that's got me scratching my head. Is like, is the UFC even trying to build the company? Are they trying to make money? Are they trying to break pay-per-view sales? It doesn't feel like they are. It just consistently feels like time and time again, these events are getting worse and worse and worse. So what we're going to do today is take a look at the upcoming UFC events, the pay-per-views, some of the fight nights, talk about what's going on with those, why they're so lackluster, what's going on with the UFC, my opinions on what should have been done and why they haven't been done. And then we're going to also have a moment to look back on some of the previous fight cards in history in terms, and I'm going to bring up just International Fight Week for the previous cards just to show what real fucking 500 real 800k pay-per-view sales looks like, what could get to a million pay-per-view. Like, I get it, like Khabib and McGregor was different. You had a bunch of the casual fan base watching, but your sport has grown. You have a lot more fans than you did back when McGregor and Khabib were fighting. You still have added a lot more fans. You can get them to buy pay-per-views. But you refuse to do it. I don't understand what the UFC's doing. It's like they're deliberately tanking the company. They're deliberately making it worse for fans. And one of the really annoying parts is, before I get into the actual core of the video, you have these fake fucking hardcore dudes going into every comment section on every fight made. Dude, Edson Barbosa, Drakkar Klose, oh my god. This thing's a banger, dude. I'm so happy we get this fight. This is legendary stuff. Bro, it is a good fight. It is a prelim fight of a pay-per-view. It's an Apex main card fight if you're putting it on the Apex. To put it on the main card of a pay-per-view in Chicago being headlined by Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev. Are we serious? You're all looking at it and glazing going, not you're all, like the fucking fake hardcores. You know the kind of people I'm talking about. They go to every fucking fight that's made, every non-ranked fight that gets put on a fucking pay-per-view main card. They go under the comment section and go, dude, underrated banger. This one's going to be sick. It is not going to be something to pay $80 fucking dollars for. I don't care if it's the barn burner of all barn burners. There is no hype going into the fight. It's not something I want to actually watch a press conference to see what these two dudes are going to say. It's not something that is super high stakes. The winner's getting a title shot. The winner's getting a top 5. They're not this up-and-coming contender that we're like, dude, we may see them in the title picture in a couple more fights. Let's see what's going on here. That's not what it is. You have these fake fucking hardcores trying to prove how hardcore they are by commenting on these fights. All these guys trying to prove how hardcore they are by commenting on every comment section, underrated banger. If you don't like this fight, you're a casual. If you don't think this is a banger, you're a casual. No one's saying it's not a good fucking fight. But go back to 2017, 18, 19, 20, all the way through 2024. We had pay-per-view cards that were stacked. $2.99, Petr Yan vs. Song Yadong was a main card opener. Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael Dos Anjos was the second to last fight on the prelims of that pay-per-view. I don't understand, dude. I just don't get it. We had these. You had Cejudo versus Merab Dvalishvili as the fourth fight of the pay-per-view on 298. Fourth fight. Merab, current champ. Henry Cejudo, former double champ. We're going to get to some of those past cards in a moment, specifically the International Fight Week ones, but like, I'm sick of this shit. The UFC is slinging slop. And we're letting it happen. And the reason why is because of these fucking fake hardcore guys that want to prove that they've been watching the sport for a while and they want to prove how much more hardcore than everybody. So they have to go in and talk about all these mid fights that, again, decent fights. I don't want to say mid fights. They're good fights for prelims of pay-per-views. They don't deserve to be on the main card. They really don't. But they're getting the spotlight because the UFC's like, oh, these guys, look at the fucking bots in the comment section going, wow, Vettori versus Allen co-main event. Can't wait for that one. In what world is that a co-main event of a pay-per-view? Both guys are coming off losses. Both are coming off losses. Brendan Allen's coming off 2 losses in a row. Marvin Vettori's coming off a loss. And before that, not fighting for 2 years. Both guys are fucking bottom 10 ranked. Sorry, not bottom 10. Outside the top 10 at fucking middleweight. And that's the co-main event. We're going to talk about 318 in a minute because that is a fucking disgrace of a card. We'll get there. But this is insane. These guys go to these comment sections and lower the standards for UFC cards and just eat up the fucking slop that the UFC sends them. Because they want to be looked at as hardcore guys. You're not fucking fooling anybody. You're just making yourself look like a fucking loser. And who cares if you're a little bit more of a casual fan? All we want are good fights. We don't want people to prove that they watch every weekend. We don't care. You can be more of a casual fan. It doesn't mean you don't get an opinion. Sometimes it's invalid if you say stupid shit like, dude, what has Aspinall even done to deserve the John Jones fight? Bro, are we serious? You know, being the fucking interim champion, defending an interim belt, being the only guy that's worthy of fighting for a title? That's what he's done to deserve it. That's when your opinion's invalid. But it doesn't mean you can't just like a fight. But you cannot keep slurping on these shit fights, trying to gaslight everybody into thinking that you're this big fucking hardcore because you like a fight of a guy that only one person in the room has heard the name of because they don't watch every weekend and you do. You're not fucking proving anything to anybody. Stop it. Because now we're getting stuck with International Fight Week cards like... Oh, we're going to get to these rankings in a moment because I want to talk about something. Again, this is a great card. You look at the fights on this card, this is Charles Oliveira, Ilia Topuria is a sick main event. Sick main event. Always love having a men's title fight as a co-main. Pantoja, Kai Kara France. Did Kai deserve the title shot? Maybe not, but you know what? Fuck it. Like, it's a Pantoja fight, and we're getting it against a contender that he hasn't fought during this title reign yet. You know how much I love Dariush and Renato Moicano. A lot of shit talking to come up from Renato Moicano. It's going to be a good fight. And then you got Joshua Van, Brandon Royval somewhere down here, you'll see. Yep. Hyder Emil, Jose Delgado's a good one. Terrence McKinney, Vyacheslav Barshev. This will be on the main card. Thank God they're not putting Tafa on the main card because now Tafa got thrown out, so now he's not on the main card. He pulled out of the fight. Talbot versus Felipe Lima, sick fight. Look at these. The prelims are great. This is a sick prelim headliner. This is I'll take it for a prelim, right? I'll take this for a prelim. A nice hyped prospect like Jacoby Smith. This is a banger of a prelim. This is a banger of a prelim. This should be a banger of a prelim, but it's going to end up being the fucking the first fight on the card. It's going to open up the main card, and then you have this one, whatever, dude. You needed a chick fight on there, whatever. Vivian Araujo, kind of a baddie. But, like, when I look at this card, I'm like, insane main event, great co-main event, and then good fights down the card. But where is that International Fight Week? Damn, dude, we're getting this fight as a feature fight? Holy shit. Where are the big crazy names that everyone gets hyped for, bro? You don't have them on this card. That's my issue. I have a major issue with this. You have these big names that you're supposed to get super hyped for that usually go on International Fight Week. There's no it factor outside of the main and co-main event anymore, honestly. Everyone loves Joshua Van and Brandon Royval, but that's not one that everyone's going to go, oh, man. Like, you're not literally, like, antsy. When you see Yuri on a card, that's the fucking name that I want on there. And you know what? We'll talk about this right now. Where the fuck are some of these dudes that should be on the International Fight Week card to help build the card so much more? Look at the fucking pound for pound list. Where's the fucking... Max Holloway's fighting next month. Yeah, but like, where are these other guys? Where is Arman Sarukian? Why is he not on this card? One of the number one prospects. You have him fight on the same card. He immediately gets the title shot if he gets a win after. Why is Piotr Jan on a fight night card instead of being on International Fight Week? Why is he not in the feature fight? People are invested and care about Petr Yan's career. We want to watch Petr Yan. Put him on a fucking pay-per-view like International Fight Week. Why is he not on there? Why is Gene Silva, one of the most hyped guys in the world right now, not on there? Like, what are we doing, bro? Look at this. Gene Silva doesn't have a fight booked right now. We should be watching Gene Silva fight on International Fight Week. He's an insanely hyped prospect. This doesn't make sense to me. Where's the fucking it factor on these cards? Where the fuck is the Nasruddin Imavov fight, a top contender? Where the fuck is the Sean Brady fight? He got a finish over Leon. Where the fuck are these guys that are getting quick finishes like Michael Morales? Where the fuck are these guys like Justin Gaethje and where is the Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker fight as the feature fight? Like that is a feature fight of International Fight Week. Immediately elevates the card, sells another 100,000 pay-per-views because of that fight. Where are those fights? Dan Hooker versus Arman, Gaethje versus Arman. Where's Pimlet? Where the fuck? Where is Mauricio Hufi? Where's Yuri Prohaska? Where are these fights? Where's Israel Adesanya? Sean Strickland? Where are these fights that elevate what International Fight Week is supposed to be about? They're not on there. This is a good fight. I love Renato Moicano. You know I'm a certified Moicano glazer, but this is not the quality of a feature fight for International Fight Week. Any other fucking pay-per-view, sure, you can kind of have it on there. But a quality feature fight for something like International Fight Week would be a Yuri Prohaska, Carlos Ulberg. Yuri Prohaska versus Dom Reyes 2. Yuri Prohaska versus Jan Blachowicz. Like, those are the kinds of fights. Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje. Those are the type of fights. Mauricio Hufi, again, not necessarily a feature fight worthy, but get him on a main card. Then you at least strengthen it even more. It's just, we're missing these it factor guys that elevate pay-per-views. And the UFC is and I just named guys that are in the top 15. We have Kevin Vallejos, one of the most hyped prospects right now, a guy who I certified glaze on this channel all the time, but he is one of the top prospects. People talk about him like he's Ilia Topuria. He's the only guy to not get finished by Gene Silva in the UFC. Went to a 29-28 decision with him. You put him on a fucking Apex card. What you do with a guy like Kevin Vallejos is you put him as the second to last prelim on International Fight Week. So everyone's like, dude, this guy is nuts. And you set him up for a blockbuster performance so people follow him and you build a star that way. But the UFC don't do that. Mauricio Hufi, same thing. You get him on a card like this to bring in eyes. You're going to have the eyes for Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira and Pantoja and Kai Kara France and Moicano. You bring in guys like Mauricio Hufi for this, that you want to pay attention to, that you want to be on the rise. That's what you do. I don't understand what the UFC's thought process is here. They can do better than this. This is a good card. The prelims are fucking stacked. But the main card needs one more it factor fight. It needs a Yuri Prohaska. It needs a Gaethje versus Hooker. It needs something like that. And we're not getting it. Let's look at past International Fight Weeks. 2024, also same problem. It was fucking miserable. I get it was supposed to be McGregor Chandler. But you kind of always knew that wasn't going to come through. So then you do Yuri versus Alex Pereira. Sick main event. The co-main was going to be Ortega versus Lopez. Ortega pulls out. You manage to fill it with Dan Ige. You know what? Under tough circumstances, it makes sense. It works. Right, whatever. But then you have, as the feature fight, I actually don't even remember the feature fight. But you had Ian Gary MVP on the card, which is supposed to be kind of a more hyped fight. But again, it's not the full it factor it fight for International Fight Week. You know what I mean? Now Ian Gary's more it factor because his name's just getting bigger and bigger. But like, then you had fucking not Irene Aldana. You had Macy Chasson versus Myra Bueno Silva on the fucking main card. On the main card of that International Fight Week. What the hell was the other one? I'm literally forgetting because it was so It was UFC 303. We're not doing the UFC's website because it's a shit website. Who the fuck else was on the main card? Like, I literally forget. That's how forgettable this was. Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Smith was the feature fight on that fucking card, bro. The main card of last year was Pereira Prohaska, sick fight. Lopez Ige, whatever. They saved it with the Ige fight. Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Smith feature fight. A women's fight below that, shit fight. Ian Gary versus Michael Page before that. Look at these prelims, not even that good. Pfeiffer gets to flatline Marc-Andre Barriol. Feely versus Cub Swanson, like really, bro? Gene Silva, Charles Jourdain. Gene Silva, obviously sick prospect. Peyton Talbot, sick prospect. Like, look at this shit, though. Look at the other slop that's on it. Vinicius Oliveira, Ricky Simone in hindsight, great fight. But, like, now we go to fucking International Fight Week. And it's like... Again, we're at this spot where it's just, there needs to be an it factor guy. There needs to be a Yuri, a Dan Hooker, a Justin Gaethje, a fucking Israel Adesanya, like a big fucking name guy. Really big name guys need to be there, bro. They do. But now let's go back to past International Fight Week, show you what they're really supposed to look like. 239, John Jones versus Thiago Santos. It's big time main event. It's a John Jones fight. Co-main of Amanda Nunes versus Holly Holm. You had that it factor guy in Ben Askren versus Jorge Masvidal. That's an it factor fight. Then you have a top 5 ranked light heavyweight in Jan Blachowicz who gets a title shot with a win versus Luke Rockhold, a former champion going up to 205 for the first time. Then you get 2 ranked guys. Maybe Diego Sanchez was just outside the rankings, but Michael Chiesa, ranked guy on a streak, fighting Diego Sanchez. Arnold Allen, up-and-coming prospect he can promote against a vet in Gilbert Melendez. Cheeto Vera, up-and-coming prospect. Stupid chick fight, whatever. Song Yadong, up-and-coming prospect. Young guy from China that you're trying to build with that audience. Edmund, against Alejandro Perez, too. Edmund Shabazian, a guy who Rogan was all the way behind. You have those fights for 239. Like, you have the it factor is George Masvidal, Ben Askren there. We don't have one of those for this fight. For this weekend. Then you have McGregor Poirier. It's a McGregor card, so like they're usually making it lighter, but like McGregor Poirier, a blockbuster fight. Blockbuster. More blockbuster at the time than Ilya versus Charles is going to be. I'm telling you, that's just how it goes with McGregor fights. I'm just saying, Ilya Poirier, if he knocks out Charles and then gets another big knockout win, like he can get to this level where he can kind of sell, but Poirier was just coming off a knockout win over McGregor, and McGregor's McGregor, so that's a huge fight. Burns versus Wonderboy. 2 top 10, close to, like, I think it was like a 6th and 7th ranked welter, or maybe like, because I think Burns was coming off the Chimaev loss, but like, I think he was the number 4 ranked welterweight, and Wonderboy was like the number 6 ranked welterweight. That's a huge fight. Like, Tai Tuivasa, okay, it's not a big one, but like, still, Tai Tuivasa is, like, this is on his knockout streak. The Irene Aldana, Yana Santos one, whatever. Sean O'Malley is the it factor, right? He's the up-and-coming guy. He was supposed to fight someone else. Moutinho fills in on short notice, but O'Malley's the it factor guy that you're like, dude, there's the extra fight that I'm tuning in to watch. Not just McGregor Poirier or Burns Wonderboy. That's the extra it factor fight I'm watching. Michelle Pereira versus Nico Price. Sick fight. Ilya Topuria. Again, you end up getting Topuria and he fucking chins Ryan Hall, but he's still yapping his shit at this time. Dricus du Plessis ends up being a champion. Tavares has a name at the time. It's just... And I'm pretty sure Jerome Rivera might have been fucking ranked when he was fighting Zhalgas. Or maybe he was just... No, I'm not thinking of... I'm thinking of Jimmy Rivera. Never mind. But, like, those are the kinds of fights that you're getting on a fucking McGregor card, which are never stacked. Then you go to 276. Look at this one. Israel Adesanya, main event. Volk Holloway 3 is the fucking co-main event. It factor, Pereira versus Strickland. Pereira's been chinning everybody. He's getting his jump up, and if he wins, he's fighting Izzy because there's beef there. There's your it factor fight. There it is. There was another fight on this card that ended up falling out that was supposed to be sick. I forget which one it was. Brian Barberena and Robbie Lawler step up and have a fucking banger of a fight. Robbie Lawler, former champion. Then you have your other it factor of Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Munoz. Jalen Turner on the come up against Brad Riddell. Jim Miller's on the card against Donald Cerrone, the Unkoff. Ian Gary, it factor on the card. DDP again on the card. Like this guy, these are the fights. Look at this fight card, bro. Shit, women's fight to start it out. Yeah, what was the other canceled one? There was supposed to be another fight. Huh. Maybe I'm capping. I don't know. But regardless, like, yeah, shit, women's fights to start it. But like, Macy Barber at the time had some hype because she's fucking hot. But then you have Andre Muniz versus Uriah Hall is like all the way down here. Brad Tavares DDP all the way down here. Ian Gary prelims. Jim Miller prelims. Jalen Turner prelims. Like Cowboy prelims. Like that's how you make an international fight week card. 290 stacked is all stacked. I'll go to the bottom first. Esteban Ribovics versus Camwella Kirk is the first fight in the card. Jesus Aguilar, Shannon Ross, like whatever. Cameron Simon, hyped prospect from South Africa. Vitor Petrino, hyped prospect that was undefeated at the time. Absolute monster against Marcin Prachnio. Alonzo Menefield, Jimmy Crute, ranked light heavyweights. Both were ranked at the time. On the prelims. Denise Gomes versus Yasmin Uregui. Yasmin Uregui was a super hyped prospect, being as talented as she was. Tatsuro Taira versus Edgar Shayrez. Robbie Lawler, like the featured prelim in his retirement fight. It factor. Then you get to the main card. Bo Nickel when he still got the hype. It factor fight. Very it factor fight. Dan Hooker versus Jalen Turner. The banger on the card that everyone's like, you gotta tune in for this one. This one's gonna be sick. DDP, up and coming, killing everybody at middleweight versus Robert Whittaker. No, Robert Whittaker's going to be the guy to slow him down. Winner's going to get Israel Adesanya. It's your number one contender fight right here. The feature fight, number one contender fight. And there's other it factors on the card. Then you get Pantoja Moreno, a banger of a fight. That you know is a banger of a fight because Moreno's kind of a star at this point. Volk versus Yair after the fucking Makhachev insanely close fight. Like, that's how you do International Fight Week. But no. The UFC doesn't do International Fight Week like that. Instead, we're getting, again, and I don't want to complain that this card's bad because it's not, but you expect more. You get another Pantoja fight, but Pantoja versus Moreno doesn't compare. I'm sorry, Pantoja versus Kai Kara France doesn't compare to what Pantoja versus Moreno was. Topuria Charles is massive. I'm not going to discount that fight at all. It's a huge fight, so it is what it is. Beneil versus Moicano doesn't compare to DDP Whittaker. Doesn't even come close. Van versus Royval. Again, in terms of hype, it's not fun. Like, in terms of fight, when they get in there, it's going to be a banger, but it doesn't compare in terms of the hype. Nothing does. Same with, like, Hooker and Jalen Turner. That's what the fucking Van Royval fight is. It just... and the prelims are sick, but it's just... And then we're going to get to other events, dude. I'm going to go to the fucking 318 pay-per-view in a minute. I want to go to the list of fucking fights that we have coming up here, bro. Because some of these fucking fight nights are absolutely disgraceful. Lewis versus Teixeira is the fight after Topuria versus Holloway. That's a main event. A guy that's 1-0 in the UFC, ranked number 12 at heavyweight, fighting Derek Lewis, who's ranked number like 9 at heavyweight. That's your main event for Nashville. Calvin Kattar, Steve Garcia. Realistically, this is like a good card, but I feel like there's more. Like, this is not a main event of a fight night worthy in front of a crowd. We can do better. Like, Max Griffin should be nowhere near a fucking main card of a fight night in front of a crowd. He shouldn't. Jake Matthews Cheaty's a banger of a fight, but like, what's Max Griffin doing on here? Wonderboy Bonfim's a great fight. You get Kennedy versus Walter. I mean, again, not a main card fight, though. Like, you got some damn good fights on here, but Nate Landwehr versus Morgan Charrier, dude, like, you got to give, I don't know, like, a more hyped prospect at featherweight. Like, I don't want to say the Vallejos deserves Nate Landwehr yet, but maybe do Vallejos in front of the crowd. Like, I guess Landwehr needs to be in Nashville, but what are we doing here, man? Like, I'm just so confused. Again, not terrible, but we deserve better. Because then when you look at the next one, which is going to be fucking... Oh my god, dude. The ads on Tapology is what makes it annoying. It's really going to fucking... Oh, no, hit enter again. All right. Let's reset that. Not all promotions, because look at after this. We're going to have a fucking shitty one in the Apex or something like that. Or no, you end up getting Holloway Poirier 3. That's what I'll bring it to next. Good main event. Why is Marvin Vettori and Brendan Allen in the co-main event? Please explain that to me. I don't understand. Both guys coming off losses. I don't get it. Marvin Vettori coming off a schooled loss to Roman Dolidze. Brendan Allen coming off back-to-back losses to Anthony Hernandez and Nasruddin Imavov. That's what we're going with, bro? As the co-main event? Ige versus Pitbull. Pitbull, who's not even ranked, hasn't won a fight in the UFC yet, is 37 years old. Again, Ige versus Pitbull is a great fight. Maybe make it the main card opener if you can put a Gene Silva on this card. Where is Gene Silva for this card, bro? He fought on 314 and took no damage against Bryce Mitchell. Where is he for this card? Where is Mauricio Rufy for this card? Where are those two guys for this card? Hyped prospects, so you can turn around and have them fight quick, so that way they can go quicker to the belt. And we don't have these log jams that we keep getting stuck with in every division. Because then it makes sense. You put Ige as Pitbull as the main card opener. Then you can have Costa and Kopylov. By the way, Costa and Kopylov got moved here. Bro, they almost didn't. If they didn't move this fight here, it literally would have looked like Islam Dulatov, Adam Fujic on the main card. Obviously, Vinicius Oliveira and Kyler Phillips is a great fight. That'll be on the main card. But this is not a $80 pay-per-view. Holloway versus Poirier, no real belt on the line. Vettori Allen, both on loss streaks. Patricio Pitbull, not ranked, versus Dan Ige, number like 14 ranked. Paulo Costa, who hasn't won a fight since like 2020. Or hasn't won a fight since 2022 against Luke Rockhold, who came back from retirement. That Paulo Costa is on the main card, ranked number like 13 at middleweight versus Kopylov ranked number 14. That's not a fucking pay-per-view worthy fight. Again, there are some good prelims, man, but that's what they are. They're fucking prelims, and instead the UFC expects you to pay $80 for them. They moved Zell Huber versus Michael Johnson, which was supposed to be on the prelims of International Fight Week, but they looked and they go, dude, we got way too many good prelims on that. We need to move this so that way we can even out how all of our cards, so that way they're all like okay instead of spectacular. I just don't get what the UFC's doing here. You have the opportunity to make these unbelievable cards. You have Dustin Poirier retiring. He's going to Louisiana for the first time. And this is what you're putting on the undercard of a not title fight, just a retirement card? Where the fuck is Gene Silva for this? Where is Gene Silva versus Lerone Murphy for this fucking card? Where's Mauricio Rufy versus Michael Chandler or Mauricio Rufy versus someone on this card? Where the fuck are those guys for this card? Yuri. Where is Yuri for this card if you're not putting him on International Fight Week? Where is the Dom Reyes fight for this fucking card? Where is the Dom Reyes versus Alexander Rakic on this card? That's how you add another fight to a card where you go, all right, this makes sense now, this is worth it. Little things that the UFC just aren't doing. And then we're going to mix it up, and we're going to go all of a sudden, we're going to go to the Middle East in Abu Dhabi, and guess what? They get a fucking pay-per-view worthy card for a fight night. Why? Because Dana is fucking controlled by the Middle East now. He is. Fucking bought and paid for, dude. Robert Whittaker versus Ranier de Ridder. Unbelievable fight. I'm so happy we're getting a fight like this. This is great. Does it need to be in Abu Dhabi? This can't be on International Fight Week. This can't be on the week before for Poirier versus... You can't add this the week before and then instead make Movsar Evloev, or you can't make fucking Piotr Jan Marcus McGee the fucking main event, or like end up giving fucking Evloev a title shot and then doing Yair Rodriguez versus Aaron Pico as the main event. You can't mix things up here so you have a different main event. And then you have these other fights underneath it, and Whittaker just gets added to International Fight Week, or Whittaker gets added to the fucking Louisiana card. You can't do that. No. We need this here. It's a great fight. Look at how... I'm going to be so excited this day. This is going to be a stacked night of fights. Whittaker de Ridder, unbelievable. Movsar Evloev, Aaron Pico. Again, it's a great fight. But Movsar should not need to be fighting a guy that's making his UFC debut. If you beat this guy making his debut, you're going to get the title shot, likely. Dana, are you listening to the fans? For the first time, we're actually cheering for a guy from this region that isn't that exciting in the cage for a title fight because he deserves it so much. We're cheering for merit right now, and you're going to give it to fucking Yair Rodriguez for beating Patricio Pitbull, who's about to get slumped by Dan Ige in his next fight. That's who you're going to give a title shot to. Not Mozar, who's 19-0, racking up wins against your ranked featherweight division like Diego Lopez, Dan Ige. Who the fuck else? Bryce Mitchell. Not Bryce Mitchell. Arnold Allen. These are the guys that he's fucking beating that are ranked. Ige. Aljo. Fucking Diego Lopez. And who the fuck is the last guy? Arnold Allen. Those are 4 dudes ranked in your division that he beat. 4 of them. But no. Aaron Pico's got to get this fight, man. Okay. Makes no fucking sense, Dana. Shara makes his return. Again, you know he's going to be fighting in this spot. Piotr Jan versus Marcus McGee is on the fucking... Dude, it's about to be a feature fight. It's probably going to be a feature fight or the 4th fight down on the main card of a fight night. This is Piotr Jan on a fight. Why can't you do Piotr Jan versus Marcus McGee on the pay-per-view of UFC 318? Why can't you do that? It's a week earlier. It doesn't make sense to me, man. Everyone wants to see Piotr Jan fight. Piotr Jan, Marcus McGee, you can make as a 5-round co-main event for that UFC 318 card. The whole card's fixed. It's worth watching and buying. You can do that and it'll be worth it. But no, that's not what you're going to do. Ramazan Temirov versus Asu Almabayev is a fucking prelim of a fight night. That's how insanely stacked this card is. But none of these could be used anywhere else. Krylov and Guskov will end up being on the main card. Look at how stacked this card is. Muslim Salikov versus Carlos Leal. Carlos Leal just keeps fighting in the Middle East, bro. It's crazy. Krylov Guskov. Ibo Aslan Belialikana. Look at this fucking... Bryce Mitchell making his bantamweight debut against Said Nurmagomedov. Like, what is going on here, man? But no, we have to make this for the Louisiana card. These are the ones that people are going to pay $80 for. Good luck, buddy. Everyone's going to fucking stream, and you're going to be like, dude, this is why you guys don't get good fights. You're all streaming. No one would be fucking streaming it. The streaming would go down way much if you could... I'm not even fucking verbalizing well. The streaming would go down so much if you could actually put together $80 worthy cards. Or just bring them down to $40 fucking dollars. $50. Like, bring them down in price, and you will have pay-per-views sky through the roof. But no, you won't do that because you don't actually understand business, do you? Now we're going to go to UFC 319. Insane main event. Chimaev versus Duplessis. We're back in Chicago. So what do we get? Oh my goodness, dude. You guys are going to be so excited when you see Tim Elliott is making his return against Kai Asakura on the main card. If this is the co-main event, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I am holding out hope that they will put together a co-main event of a Yuri fight, a Gene Silva fight, or a Baralho Imavov fight. That's what I am hoping, that they will put something together like that. Jared Cannonier MVP is a sick fight. Sick feature fight. Drakkar Klose versus Edson Barboza is a good fight. It is not the main card of a pay-per-view. It is not. 100% is not main card of a pay-per-view in 2025. But they're going to put it on the main card because they don't know how to please fans anymore. These prelims are good fucking prelims. But that's what they are, is prelims. Drakkar Klose versus Edson Barboza is a fucking prelim. Even make it the prelim headliner, I'm fine with it. These are main card fights, I'm fine with it. This is a main card opener or the 4th fight on the card. This is a perfect feature fight. You need a co-main of Baralho versus Imavov for the #1 contender spot, and you need another fight like a big name Mauricio Rufy on this card. Mauricio Rufy versus Michael Chandler. Book it as the main card opener for this. This is the next fight. This is the feature fight. Baralho Imavov is the co-main event, 5 rounds, and you have your real deal pay-per-view, UFC. You have it. But they won't do that because they don't fucking care about you anymore. They don't care about any fan anymore. They just want to make as much money as they can. But Good thing they made sure that the Abu Dhabi Fight Night card is more stacked than UFC 318. This is a better card than UFC 318. We have 2 5-round fights on this. It feels more like a pay-per-view than UFC 318. You can Whitaker versus DeRitter. I don't know that any fight is as good in terms of fun as Holloway versus Poirier is going to be. But Poirier's retiring, and we've already seen that fight twice before. So I'm not going to compare Whitaker and Reinier DeRitter, say it's on par in terms of excitement of that fight, but hype build, this has more hype. Oh my god, these ads, dude. This has way more hype. Whitaker versus DeRitter, because you're like, what's going to happen? And Max Poirier, we've seen it happen twice. And it's not like if Max wins, he's going to get a title shot. He got knocked out by the guy that's going to be the champ. Then you have Mozart versus Aaron Pico, blows out any other fight on that card. Shara, the it factor, right? The one that a lot of people want to see on that card. He's going to be a better fight than... Dude, Shara is more fucking appealing to watch than... Who the fuck is the other one that I can compare it to? I mean, maybe not than Kopylov versus Costa, but like, look at that. Bryce Mitchell versus Saeed's a really intriguing fight. Petr Yan, this is a real feature fight right here. Like, I'd rather watch this fight than anything on this card other than Max versus Poirier. You have 3 fights that are like that, bro. Like, I just don't get it. Let's go to what... So we're after Abu Dhabi, right? Before the Chicago card. What's the fight card that we're going to get? Right? What's the one that we're going to get? We're going to get a fucking card on August 2nd. Guess what it's going to be? Fight Night, Las Vegas, Apex, main event. Amir Albazi versus Tatsuro Taira is the main event. Carol Rosa versus Nora Cornell as the locked-in co-main event. 2 ranked women's bantamweights. The worst division in UFC history is women's bantamweight. There's no intrigue in this division at all other than Amanda versus Kayla. There's none. And that is going to be the co-main event of a Fight Night card on August 2nd. Fuck you, UFC. You have lost the plot completely. You don't know what the fans want. You don't know what the fans deserve. You can go fuck yourself. You know nothing anymore. Adolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore on the main card. 5-3 Tresean Gore coming off a brutal beatdown loss to Marco Tulio versus Adolfo Vieira, 10-3, 30-something years old. Coming off a loss to Andre Petroski in a boring fight on the main card of this. You got your good hype prospect in Andre Lima, but he's got no one good he's going against. Felipe Bunes is not that good. You get another chick fight here. Chris Duncan, Mateusz Rombeski. That's actually a really good fight. Why is that not the fucking co-main? Because the UFC has been bought by Disney. Kevin Vallejos on the card, but again, it's going to be it's a prelim card. It's a prelim of a fucking Fight Night card in the Apex. But no, because the UFC has been bought by Disney, is owned by that guy Mark Shapiro now, and the people like that, they don't want us to have fun enjoying these cards. They want to rule the world. They want to fucking ruin my fun as a UFC fan, bro. This is insane. No, we need this woke narrative pushed on us. That's what we need. Nora Cornell is a fucking co-main event on a fucking Apex card. Fuck this. The UFC has lost the plot completely. What are we doing? I don't know what we're fucking doing anymore, dude. I hope you guys like the video. This is just a generational rant. Like, I'm just yapping. I'm fucking upset. You guys probably should be too, and you probably are. Maybe I took it to another level with my fucking volume, but this shit bothers me, man. This shit fucking bothers me, and everyone should be upset about this because we can't get good fucking pay-per-views here, but don't worry, when they're going to fucking Middle East and Abu Dhabi, roll out the red carpets. And I'm happy that we have Abu Dhabi, because if we don't have Abu Dhabi if we don't have Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia, all of our cards would be shit. And it's like they're trying to spread them out so that way you watch, but you're only getting 2 good fights, because don't worry, we have other good fights coming. You'll see them next week. We can't get a stacked card anymore, bro, and I'm just sick of it. Whatever, guys, I'm done. Fuck that.